The little girl screamed just as the black SUV screeched to a violent stop in the middle of the busy street. People turned in confusion. Some stepped back instinctively, sensing something was wrong before they even understood what was happening. The rear door of the SUV flew open. A masked man jumped out. He moved fast. Too fast. Within seconds, his gloved hand grabbed the small girl standing near the sidewalk, yanking her toward the vehicle. The girl's pink backpack slipped off her shoulders and hit the pavement. "Help me," she cried, her tiny voice trembling with fear. People froze. Some gasped, but no one moved, except one person, Emily Carter. She had been walking home from the morning shift at a small diner 3 blocks away. Her feet were sore, her back ached, and the smell of coffee still clung to her clothes. At 23, life had already worn her down more than most people her age. Her father had died 5 years earlier. Her mother followed not long after. Now Emily worked double shifts to keep a roof over her head and take care of her younger brother Daniel. Her life was simple: survive today, worry about tomorrow later. But when she heard the little girl scream, her body moved before her mind could catch up. "Hey!" Emily sprinted forward. The masked man had already dragged the child halfway toward the SUV. "Let her go," Emily shouted. The attacker turned, surprised. His grip tightened on the girl. "Back off," he growled. Emily didn't slow down. She threw herself between them. The girl stumbled behind her, clinging to Emily's hoodie. "Stay behind me," Emily whispered quickly. The attacker's eyes narrowed behind the mask. "You have no idea what you're doing," he said coldly. Emily's heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst out of her chest. But she didn't move. "You're not taking her," she said. The man grabbed Emily's arm and shoved her violently to the pavement. Pain shot through her elbow as it scraped the concrete. Gasps erupted from the bystanders. Still no one stepped forward. The attacker reached for the girl again, but Emily grabbed the little girl and wrapped both arms tightly around her. The child was trembling uncontrollably. "It's okay," Emily whispered. "I've got you." "Let go," the man snapped. Emily shook her head. "No." The man raised his fist, and that was when the sound came. 3 engines, loud, fast, powerful. Black cars roared down the street and skidded to a stop with terrifying precision. Doors burst open. Men in dark suits stepped out, moving like trained soldiers. The attacker froze. Everyone froze. Because stepping out of the first car was someone who immediately changed the entire atmosphere. Luca Moretti. 6'2", lean, powerful build. Every movement calm, controlled, deliberate. His presence alone made the street fall silent. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, the jacket resting smoothly over broad shoulders. His sleeves were slightly rolled, revealing detailed tattoos, spiraling down his forearms. Sharp lines of ink marked his skin symbols of loyalty, power, and battles fought long before today. Another tattoo curved along the side of his neck, partially hidden beneath his collar. His jawline was clean-shaven and precise. No beard, no softness, just cold authority. On his wrist sat an elegant silver watch, sleek, expensive, flawless. The kind of watch worn by men who controlled time instead of chasing it. Luca's dark eyes scanned the scene in one sweeping glance. The overturned backpack, the masked man, and finally, the small girl trembling in Emily's arms. His expression changed instantly. Isaweya. The name carried quiet power. The little girl looked up. "Papa!" The attacker panicked. He shoved Emily aside and tried to run toward the SUV. He didn't make it 3 steps. 2 of Lucas' men slammed him to the ground and pinned him there. Emily barely noticed. She was focused on the little girl clinging tightly to her hoodie. "Are you okay?" asked softly. The girl nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Don't let him take me," she whispered. "I won't." Footsteps approached. Slow, measured. Emily looked up. Luca Moretti stood directly in front of them. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Tall enough that his shadow stretched over both of them. His dark eyes studied the scene carefully. But when he crouched down slightly, his voice softened. "Isabella," he said quietly. The girl immediately reached for him. Luca lifted her gently into his arms, holding her securely against his chest. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. Then she pointed at Emily. "She saved me." Luca's eyes shifted toward Emily. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Emily suddenly became very aware of the dirt on her hoodie, the scrape on her arm, and the fact that she was sitting on the pavement in front of one of the most feared men in Chicago. "You stood in front of him," Luca said calmly. Emily shrugged nervously. "I didn't really Think. You should have been afraid. I was. Luca studied her more closely. His gaze was sharp, intelligent, like he was analyzing every detail about her. You still didn't run. Emily looked down briefly. She's just a kid. The wind moved slightly through the street. Luca stood up slowly, holding Isabella in one arm. Even standing still, he radiated quiet power. His men dragged the captured attacker toward one of the black cars. The man struggled, shouting threats. Completely. His focus stayed on Emily. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily." "Emily Carter." "Emily Carter," Luca repeated slowly. Isabella rested her head on his shoulder. "She was brave, Papa." The word Papa made several people nearby whisper in shock. Emily blinked. Moretti. The name clicked instantly. Her stomach dropped. Luca Moretti. The young Mafia boss whose name was spoken in low voices across the city. The man who controlled businesses, politics, and streets people didn't dare walk at night. Emily quickly stood up, brushing dust off her clothes. I should go. Luca tilted his head slightly. "You're leaving?" "Yes. I didn't know who she was, and if you had..." Emily hesitated. "I still would have helped." Luca's lips curved into a faint smile. Small. Butrial. Interesting. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a sleek black card. His name was embossed in silver. Luca Moretti. He held it out to her. Emily stared at it. "You saved my daughter," he said, quietly. "That's something I don't forget." Emily shook her head quickly. "I really don't need anything. You might someday." His tone wasn't forceful. It was certain. Emily slowly took the card. Before she could say anything else, Isabella leaned forward again. "Papa? Can she come visit me?" Emily's eyes widened. Luca looked at his daughter, then back at Emily. His dark eyes softened slightly. "Yes," he said. "She can." Emily walked away from the scene a few minutes later, her head spinning. Her hand still held the black card tightly. She thought the moment was over. Just a strange event in a long, difficult life. But 3 nights later, someone kicked down the door of Emily's apartment, and the first name that flashed through her terrified mind was one she had hoped she'd never have to call. Luca Moretti. The door exploded inward with a deafening crash. Emily's heart nearly stopped. She had been sitting at the small kitchen table in her cramped apartment, helping her younger brother, Daniel, finish his math homework. The sudden noise sent the pencil flying from his hand. "Emily?" Daniel whispered. Heavy boots stepped across the broken door. 3 men walked in. They weren't police. They weren't neighbors. Their rough faces, leather jackets, and cold eyes made that obvious immediately. Emily slowly stood up, placing herself slightly in front of Daniel. "Can I help you?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The tallest man smirked. "You Emily Carter?" Her stomach twisted. "Yes." The man pulled out a photo. It was the street, the attack, and her holding a little girl. "You like playing hero?" he said mockingly. Emily's pulse began racing. They knew. Which meant they were connected to the kidnapping. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. The man leaned against the wall like he had all the time in the world. "You interfered with business. I saved a child. You cost someone a lot of money." Daniel stepped closer to her, gripping her sleeve. "Emily," he whispered nervously. The man noticed. His eyes shifted to Daniel. "Cute kid." Emily's entire body tensed. "Don't." The man chuckled. "Relax. We're not here to hurt him." "Then why are you here?" The man stepped closer. His voice dropped. "To deliver a message." Emily forced herself not to step back. "You tell Luca Moretti something for us." Her heart skipped. If he wants his enemies to stop coming after his daughter, he should learn to control the people around him. The man looked directly into Emily's eyes. "Especially the bravones." A cold chill ran through her. "You're threatening me." "Just warning you." The man pushed the broken door open wider before leaving. The other 2 followed. And just like that, they were gone. Silence filled the apartment. Daniel's voice trembled. "Emily, who were those guys?" She didn't answer, because her eyes were locked on the black card still sitting on the kitchen counter. Luca Moretti. For 2 days she had told herself she would never call him. That people like him and people like her lived in completely different worlds. But now those worlds had collided, and Daniel was standing right behind her. Emily grabbed the card. Her fingers shook slightly as she dialed the number. It rang once, twice, then a calm voice answered. "Yes." The voice was deep, controlled, powerful. Emily swallowed. "Mr. Moretti?" There was a brief pause. Emily Carter. Her eyes widened. You remember me. I remember people who protect my daughter. His voice remained calm, but there was something sharp underneath it. Why are you calling? Emily took a breath. 3 men just broke into my apartment. Silence. Heavy silence. What did they want? Luca asked slowly. They said I interfered with business. Another pause. This one colder. Did they hurt you? No. Your brother? Emily blinked. How did you know you mentioned him that day? The fact that he remembered that detail made her uneasy. No. He's okay. Luca spoke again. Stay where you are. What? I'm sending someone. That's really not you're under my protection now. His tone made it clear this wasn't a suggestion. Emily opened her mouth to argue. The call ended. 30 minutes later, black headlights illuminated the street outside her apartment. Daniel peeked through the curtain. Emily? She walked over slowly. 3 black vehicles were parked outside. Men in suits stepped out. Then the back door of the first car opened, and Luca Moretti stepped out. Even from across the street, his presence changed the atmosphere. He wore a dark coat tonight, but the same elegance remained. The sleeves shifted slightly as he adjusted his watch. The tattoos along his wrist were visible even under the streetlight. Emily's heart started pounding. Stay here, she told Daniel. She stepped outside. Cold air hit her face. Luca walked toward her calmly. Up close, the details were clearer. The tattoo along his neck, sharp ink curling toward his collar. His clean-shaven face looked even younger than she expected, maybe early 30s. But his eyes, those eyes had seen far too much. You're shaking, he said quietly. Infine, you're not. His gaze shifted to the broken door behind her. His expression hardened instantly. Who did this? I don't know. What did they look like? Emily described them. Luca listened silently. His jaw tightened slightly. Behind him, one of his men spoke quietly into a phone. They mentioned your daughter, Emily said carefully. Made Luca's eyes darken. Of course they did. He stepped closer to the broken door, studying it. Then he turned back to her. You can't stay here. Emily crossed her arms defensively. I can't just leave. You can tonight. My brother will be safe too. She hesitated. I don't know you. Luca looked directly at her. That didn't stop you from protecting my daughter. The words caught her off guard. He continued calmly. My enemies now know your face. That's not my problem. It is if they come back. Emily looked toward the window where Daniel stood watching nervously. Her shoulders slowly lowered. Luca noticed. You're protecting him, he said. That's my job. His expression softened slightly. I understand that. There was a moment of quiet. Then Luca did something unexpected. He removed his coat and placed it gently over Emily's shoulders. You're cold, he said. She blinked in surprise. You don't even know me. No, he said. But my daughter trusts you. He glanced toward the window where Daniel stood. Bring him. Emily hesitated. You're taking us where? My house. Her eyes widened. The Mafia boss inviting strangers home, she said nervously. Luca's lips curved slightly. You're not strangers anymore. She studied his face carefully. Dangerous. Powerful. But strangely sincere. Behind all that power, there was something else. Something protective. Emily sighed. Fine. Luca nodded. Good. As they walked toward the car, Daniel whispered nervously to Emily, Are we safe? Before she could answer, Luca spoke calmly. Yes. Daniel looked up at him. You promise? Luca glanced down at the boy. His voice lowered slightly. I don't break promises. And for the first time that night, Emily believed him. The iron gates opened slowly as the convoy of black cars rolled up the long private driveway. Emily had never seen a house like this in her life. Calling it a house almost felt wrong. It looked more like a modern fortress hidden inside a quiet forest outside the city. Tall stone walls surrounded the property. Security lights lined the driveway. Cameras rotated silently on every corner. Daniel pressed his face against the window of the car. Emily, this place is huge. She didn't answer. Her eyes were focused on the man sitting across from her. Luca Moretti looked completely relaxed, leaning slightly back in his seat as if this level of power and protection was simply normal. The dim interior light of the car revealed more details of him. The tattoos along his forearms were intricate dark ink twisting into symbols Emily didn't recognize. His watch glinted softly every time the car passed under a light. Precise, elegant. Everything about him seemed controlled, but his eyes were focused outside the window, thoughtful, almost distant. The car stopped in front of the massive entrance. A pair of tall wooden doors opened before they even reached the steps. Several staff members stood waiting. Emily suddenly felt extremely out of place. Her worn jeans, her cheap sneakers. Daniel whispered nervously, "Do we have to go inside?" Emily leaned closer. "It's just for tonight," she whispered back. Luca stepped out first. The moment he did, everyone near the entrance straightened immediately. Respect, fear, authority. He didn't even need to say a word. He simply turned and held the car door open. Emily stepped out slowly. Daniel followed close behind her. Inside, the house was even more overwhelming. The ceilings were high. Modern lighting reflected off polished marble floors. Large glass windows overlooked the dark forest outside. Daniel's eyes were wide. Whoa. But before Emily could react to any of it, a small voice echoed down the hallway. "Emily." Isabella ran toward them. Her long dark hair bounced as she sprinted across the floor. Luca immediately crouched slightly. Isabella slowed down. But the girl ignored him and ran straight into Emily's arms. "You came!" Emily laughed softly despite everything. "Yeah, I guess I did." Isabella looked at Daniel curiously. "Who's he?" "My brother," Emily said. "Daniel." Daniel waved awkwardly. "Hi." Isabella smiled brightly. "Do you want to see my puppy?" Daniel instantly nodded. "Yes." Luca watched the exchange quietly. The tension in his shoulders seemed to relax slightly. Emily noticed. "You're not worried?" she asked quietly. "About what? Bringing strangers into your house?" Luca looked at her. "You saved my daughter's life. That doesn't mean you should trust me. I trust her judgment." He nodded slightly toward Isabella. "And she trusts you." Emily didn't know what to say to that. A moment later, Luca gestured toward a staff member. "Prepare a guest room." The woman nodded and left quickly. Emily raised an eyebrow. "A guest room? You and your brother need rest. You don't have to do all this." Luca looked almost amused. "I know." Isabella tugged Emily's hand. "Come see my puppy." Before Emily could respond, Daniel was already following Isabella down the hallway. Luca watched them go. Then he turned slightly. His expression changed instantly. The warmth disappeared. Cold authority replaced it. One of his men stepped forward. "Boss." "Find the men who went to her apartment," Luca said quietly. "We're already working on it. I want names." His voice lowered further. "And I want to know who sent them." The man nodded. "Yes, sir." Luca glanced briefly at his watch. Every second mattered, every move calculated. Then he walked deeper into the house. 2 hours later, Emily stepped out onto the balcony outside the guest room. She needed air. The night was quiet. Cool wind brushed across the trees surrounding the property. She leaned against the railing, thinking. Her life had changed so quickly. Just a few days ago, she had been worried about rent and bills. Now she was standing inside the home of the most powerful crime boss in Chicago. Footsteps approached behind her. She didn't even need to turn around. "You don't sleep much, do you?" Luca said calmly. Emily glanced back. He had removed his suit jacket. The sleeves of his shirt were rolled slightly higher now. The tattoos along his arms were more visible. They were striking, beautiful in a dangerous way. "You either," she replied. "Sleep is a luxury." Emily studied him carefully. "You look younger without the suit jacket." He smirked faintly. "That's probably the point." She hesitated before asking the question on her mind. "Why do they want your daughter?" Lucas' expression hardened slightly. "Because they can't reach me directly. That's horrible. It's predictable." Emily leaned against the railing. "You live like this every day?" Luca stepped beside her. "Yes, always watching your back." "Always." She shook her head. "I couldn't live like that." "You already are." Emily frowned. "What does that mean?" "My enemies now know you protected Isabella." Her stomach tightened. "They'll come after me again." "Yes." The honesty startled her. "But they won't succeed," Luca added calmly. "You sound very confident." "I don't lose people I protect." Emily looked at him more closely. "Why?" Luca raised an eyebrow. "Why what? Why protect me so much?" For a moment he didn't answer. Then his voice lowered slightly. "Because you did something rare." "What?" "You stood between danger and someone smaller than you." He looked out over the dark forest. "People like that are valuable." Emily laughed softly. "You make it sound like I'm some kind of investment." Luca turned toward her. His dark eyes locked with hers. "No." His voice softened. "You're something rarer than that." Emily felt her heartbeat quicken slightly. But before she could respond, footsteps rushed toward them. One of Lucas' men appeared in the doorway. His expression was tense. Boss. Lucas' posture changed instantly. What is it? We found out who sent the men. Lucas' eyes darkened. Vo? The man hesitated. Then he spoke quietly. Salvatore de Luca. Name hit the air like thunder. Even Emily could feel the weight of it. Lucas' jaw tightened. Impossible, he muttered. He's supposed to be in prison. The man shook his head. Not anymore. Silence filled the balcony. Then Luca spoke again. Cold, deadly calm. How long? 2 weeks. Emily looked between them. Who is he? Lucas' eyes turned toward the dark forest again. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than before. The one man who knows exactly how to destroy me. And for the first time, since she met him, Emily saw something in Luca Moretti's eyes that looked dangerously close to fear. The name hung in the air like a storm cloud. Salvatore de Luca. Even Emily, who had only been inside Luca Moretti's world for a few hours, could feel the weight behind it. Luca stood very still on the balcony. His hand slowly adjusted the elegant watch on his wrist, a habit that seemed automatic whenever he was thinking through something dangerous. His jaw tightened. Who confirmed it? He asked, quietly. My source inside the courthouse, the man replied. The release was sealed. Someone powerful helped him walk. Lucas' dark eyes sharpened. Of course they did. Emily crossed her arms, uneasy. You're talking like this guy is worse than the ones who attacked my apartment. Luca turned toward her. Much worse. The wind moved across the balcony, stirring the trees below. Emily studied him carefully. For the first time since meeting him, she could see tension in his shoulders. Not fear, exactly, but something close. What did he do? She asked. Luca didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at his man. Leave us. The man nodded and disappeared back into the house. Now it was just the two of them. Emily waited. Finally, Luca spoke. Salvatore de Luca used to run Chicago before I did. Her eyes widened slightly. You replaced him. I buried his empire. His voice was calm, but the words carried quiet violence. He built his power through fear, Luca continued. Trafficking. Extortion. Killing anyone who questioned him. And you stopped him? Yes. Emily studied his face. You don't look like the type who plays hero. Not. Then why take him down? Luca leaned against the railing beside her. The tattoo on his neck caught the dim light. Because he killed someone I cared about. Emily didn't press further. The look in his eyes told her that memory still burned. So now he's out, she said quietly. Yes, and he wants revenge. Exactly. A long silence followed. Then Emily said the obvious thing. This is my fault. Luca turned sharply. No. If I hadn't stepped in that day, he would have taken Isabella. Yes, but you did the right thing. His voice was firm. Emily looked frustrated. But now your daughter is a bigger target. Luca shook his head. She was always a target. That answer unsettled her. How do you live with that? I make sure anyone who threatens her regrets it. His calm tone made the statement far more intimidating. Emily sighed and looked out over the forest. You know what the crazy part is? What? 3 days ago I was worried about paying my electricity bill. A faint smile touched Lucas' lips. Life changes quickly, apparently. Footsteps echoed from inside again. But this time it wasn't one of Lucas' men. Papa? Isabella stood in the doorway, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Lucas' entire demeanor softened instantly. He walked over and lifted her gently into his arms. You should be asleep. I had a bad dream. Emily noticed how Isabella's small hand instinctively gripped Lucas' shirt collar. About the bad man, the girl whispered. Luca held her closer. He can't hurt you. You promise? I promise. His voice carried absolute certainty. Isabella looked toward Emily. Can she stay? Emily blinked. Stay? Luca glanced at her. Isabella nodded seriously. She makes me feel safe. Those words seemed to hit Luca harder than anything else that night. He looked at Emily again. But this time his gaze was different. Thoughtful. Calculating. What? Emily asked. You could stay here. Her eyebrows shot up. Excuse me? As Isabella's personal guardian. Emily stared at him like he had lost his mind. You want me to what? Protect her. I'm a diner waitress. You're also the only person who ran toward danger instead of away from it. That was instinct. Exactly. Emily shook her head. You have an army of trained men. They can fight, and I can't. They can't give her what you gave her. Emily frowned. What's that? Troost. The word landed quietly between them. Emily looked at Isabella again. The girl had already fallen asleep against Lucas' shoulder, her tiny hand still gripping his shirt. Emily's chest tightened. Why me? she asked softly. Luca answered honestly, because she chose you. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Emily sighed. You realize this is insane. Yes, you're a mafia boss. Emma were. And you're offering me a job guarding your daughter. Yes, which probably means more people will try to kill me. That's possible. Emily stared at him. Your sales pitch needs work. Luca chuckled quietly. It was the first time she had heard him laugh. Then he said something that caught her completely off guard. You'd have full security. Obviously. A private apartment here. Emily hesitated. Continue? Your brother would attend one of the best private schools in the city. Her heart skipped. Daniel. Luca noticed her. Reaction immediately. You work 3 jobs to support him, he said. How do you know that? I looked into you. That's creepy. It's responsible. Emily rubbed her face. You're offering to change our entire lives. Yes. Why? Luca looked down at Isabella sleeping peacefully in his arms. Then he met Emily's eyes again. Because people like you are rare. Emily felt something shift inside her chest. This man was dangerous, powerful, feared. But in that moment, he just looked like a father, trying to protect his daughter. You really trust me with her? She asked. I do. Emily took a long breath. Her old life flashed through her mind. Bills, struggle, fear. Then she looked at Isabella again. The little girl who had hugged her like they had known each other forever. Okay, Emily said quietly. Luca raised an eyebrow. Okay, you'll do it. For the first time that night, the tension in Luca's shoulders disappeared. But neither of them realized yet that Salvatore De Luca had already been watching the house. And the moment Emily Carter said yes, she became the most dangerous problem in his revenge plan. Rain fell softly against the tall glass windows of Luca Moretti's house. The forest outside was quiet, dark, almost peaceful. But inside the mansion, every security monitor glowed. Every guard was alert. And Luca Moretti stood in his private office, staring at one of the screens. The camera showed the front 8s. Nothing unusual. Yet his instincts told him something was wrong. Luca adjusted the elegant watch on his wrist, the cool metal resting against the tattoos along his forearm. The ink on his neck was partially visible under the collar of his shirt. He had learned long ago to trust that quiet warning in his chest. Across the hall, laughter echoed. Emily glanced toward the sound as Daniel and Isabella chased a small golden puppy across the living room floor. For a moment, the house felt normal, almost like a real home. Emily leaned against the wall, crossed. You know, she said, looking at Luca, for a mafia fortress, this place is surprisingly full of kids and dogs. Luca stood near the doorway watching them. His dark eyes softened slightly. They deserve a normal childhood. Emily raised an eyebrow. And this is normal? For them, it's the safest version of it. She couldn't argue with that. Daniel had already settled into the guest wing. The private school Luca arranged had called that morning. Everything about their lives had changed. In less than a week, Emily still felt like she was dreaming. You're quiet, Luca said. I'm thinking. About leaving? Emily looked at him. Do you want me to? No. The answer came immediately. Direct. Honest. Emily felt her chest tighten slightly. Before she could respond, one of Luca's men rushed down the hallway. Boss! Luca turned instantly. What is it? Movement near the north security wall. Emily saw the shift happen in real time. The calm father disappeared. The mafia boss returned. Cold. Sharp. Dangerous. Thermal cameras confirm 5 men, the guard continued. They're cutting the power grid. Luca's jaw tightened. De Luca. Emily's stomach dropped. He's here? Most likely. Alarms suddenly flashed across the security screens. Red lights. Emergency signals. Then the house lights flickered. Isabella froze in the living room. Papa? Luca walked over calmly and crouched in front of her. Listen to me, he said gently. You're going to stay with Emily in the safe room, okay? Isabella shook her head. But it's just a game. She looked unsure. Emily knelt beside her. We'll protect you, Emily said softly. That seemed to calm the girl. Daniel walked closer nervously. Emily, what's happening? Just stay with me. Luca stood again. His eyes met Emily's. For a moment, the tension between them was heavy. You take them to the safe room, he said. What about you? I handle this. You're going alone? A faint smirk touched his lips. I won't be alone. Emily grabbed his arm before he turned away. Luca. He looked down at her hand, gripping his sleeve. For a brief second, the tough mafia boss expression softened. Be careful, she said. Something in her voice made him pause. Then he nodded once. I always am. The safe room door closed with a heavy metallic thud. Inside, thick concrete walls surrounded them. Security screens showed the outside of the house. Emily's eyes stayed locked on one camera. She saw Luca step outside into the rain. Umbreja. Just him. 6'2", black shirt soaked by the storm. Tattoos visible along his arms. The elegant watch still on his wrist, glinting under the security lights. Even in the rain, he looked calm, unshaken. 5 armed men emerged from the trees, and behind them, another figure stepped forward, older, tall, cold eyes. Salvatore De Luca. Even through the screen, Emily could feel the hatred radiating from him. The 2 men stood facing each other across the rain-soaked driveway. De Luca laughed. You've gotten soft, Luca. Luca didn't move. You came for my daughter, he said calmly. I came for revenge. De Luca gestured toward the house. I heard you found yourself a little hero. Emily felt a chill. He knew about her. Luca's eyes darkened. You won't touch her. Oh, I already did. Emily's stomach twisted. What? Daniel whispered. On the screen, De Luca smiled. I sent men to her apartment. I know, but she survived. Luca stepped closer slowly. And now, so will you. Before De Luca could react, everything exploded into motion. Luca's men emerged from hidden positions around the property, weapons drawn. Within seconds, the attackers were surrounded. De Luca's confidence vanished. How you really thought I wouldn't prepare? Luca said coldly. Ripod ardi. De Luca tried to run. He didn't get far. 2 guards pinned him to the ground. Luca walked toward him slowly. Calm, controlled, terrifying. You threatened my daughter, Luca said quietly. Threatened someone who protected her. De Luca glared up at him. You're weak now. Luca leaned down slightly. No, he said softly. I just have something worth protecting. He stood again. Take him away. The guards dragged De Luca toward the cars. The rain slowly began to ease. Inside the safe room, Emily finally breathed again. Minutes later, the door opened. Luca stepped inside, wet from the storm, but completely unharmed. Isabella ran straight into his arms. Papa! He lifted her easily. It's over. Emily looked at him carefully. You knew he'd come. I hoped he would. Why? So I could end it. Emily shook her head in disbelief. You're insane. Possibly. Their eyes met. A quiet understanding passed between them. Luca looked at Daniel and Isabella playing again. Then back at Emily. You protected her, he said. Emily shrugged. I promised. Luca reached into his pocket. Emily expected another card. Instead, he handed her a small silver key. What's this? Your apartment. Her eyes widened. Era? You're serious? You're part of this family now. Emily looked around the massive house, at the kids laughing, at the man standing in front of her, the dangerous Mafia boss who somehow trusted her more than anyone. You know what's funny? She said. What? I saved your daughter once. Yes. And somehow my entire life changed. Luca's voice softened. Mine too. Outside, the rain stopped. For the first time since the attack on the street, everything felt calm, safe. And maybe, just maybe, like the beginning of something none of them expected. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Cinematic Mafia Love for more powerful stories like this. Your support keeps these stories alive.